Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. It's my pleasure, great pleasure really, to moderate this session, a plenary session here at the Grand Master Suite in the EPHConference Center in our 5th European Public Health Conference entitled Life Choices, Population Activity and Lifestyle. And this particular session has an underlying theme, which is aging, which we have decided is very appropriate in view of the fact that this is the UN year for intergenerational solidarity and active aging. And so we felt it was time to highlight this particular emphasis on aging and right across EUPHA, across ASPHER, and perhaps taking some lessons also from the largest NGO in the world, the American Association of Retired Persons, which I personally have experience in my previous life in aging. I've had some interesting and wonderful experiences with the AARP. So it's my pleasure to introduce to you. You know everyone, I think, but allow me. There is Helmut Brand, who is the head of ASPHER. There's Walter Ricciardi, who is the head of EUPHA, and Robert Tomasco is the head of the American Association of Retired Persons. So I kindly invite Helmut to start the ball rolling for us.
Yeah, thank you very much for the kind introduction, and welcome Public Health Fan Club. At this time, being here, I think took an effort such a long day. And the topic is what can the different organizations do regarding active and healthy aging, and we will go from the general to the special. So I will look a little bit more on the general issues. ASPHER, founded in 1966, the Association of Schools of Public Health in the European region, is represented in 42 countries. I think that's a good prerequisite to make a difference regarding those issues we want to talk today. We have at the moment over 95 members, so I think next year there we will crack the 100th membership. What is the mission statement? So what can you expect? What can we do for this aging issue? The overall mission is to promote education, research and service in public health. Service in public health sometimes is translated as societal impact too, in order to foster a creative and dynamic academic and practical educational infrastructure for public health workforce development. You see, it's about creativity and about dynamics, so we need new fresh ideas how to deal with this. About aging, you know it all. The epidemiology will be explained by Walter later on, so I will not put slides on the size of the problem. So just wanted to remind you, demographic change, there are 3 items. We get older, fewer, and we get mixed, the different ethnicities, migration we will show. Yesterday we heard a nice talk by our homolog, and it was about putting evidence, of putting research into practice. I would like to remind you of the 4 issues she said. Bring people together, scientists and policymakers, identify best practice examples, finance pilots, and try to have a consensus development. Please remember that when we want to bring about change regarding measures about aging and that things really happen, we have to remind those folks. So what can schools of public health do? What can they contribute? There's 3 areas. One is education and training, second research, the third one is service or societal impact. Where can this happen in how we organize our life? You know, the public health wheel or the public health trials, assessment policy development and assurance. In the assessment phase, we look how big is this problem. In policy development, we develop options for policymakers decide, and then in the assurance phase, we take over again and implement this. And especially here in the policy development, where it's about information, education, empowerment, I think ASPHER can make a difference via the schools of public health. And in the assurance phase, where it's to assure a competent workforce. The best clever ideas you will hear in the next presentation will not take off if no one is there who can implement this. And I think we heard this the last 2 days. in different examples, this is getting more and more important. Recently, we did an analysis of public health capacities in Europe. We took 6 areas we looked at. And I think they are of utmost importance if you want to have success in implementing measures to improve the situation of old people and an elderly society. First is, let's start with partnerships at the top. We need partnerships, we can't do it alone. I think that will come up in the presentation several times. Then, financial resources. You have to generate them and you have to allocate them. Most of us look at the generation of resources, but we spend not so much time directly on the allocation. But it's wasted money if we allocate it wrongly. Leadership and governance. One of those issues that popped up during all presentations in the last 2 days. There is a responsibility for public health. There is policy making for this. We have experts and civil servants in the ministry that we can approach for this. And we have to deal with leadership in the health sector. What is really important, and that's the reason why I'm stressing this so much, is that we develop a strategic vision and that we develop systems thinking. For this all, we need a good base of knowledge, and there is the next box, knowledge development. Health information monitoring systems are of utmost importance. Is it really true that healthy life years are increasing in all countries? To what amount? And how does it fit to retirement age? Do we retire healthy or are we already disabled? And is it really true that an aging society ruins our healthcare budget? We need public health reporting about this. We have to bring the message through somehow. We have to bring it to the citizens, to the policymakers. And we need research and knowledge infrastructure for the open questions we have. I will give you some examples later. Then we need a workforce. Who can be the one who is really making all those things happen? And we have to see where they are. We see a lot of uneven distribution of this workforce. We have to train them to understand about the new challenges. And they have to have the competences to deal with this. And the special issue are, most of all those actors have professional associations. They have to take this up. It's very important for success. And in the end, we need organizational structures that can make all this happen. And we have to look at public health aspects of the healthcare service, that we have a fair distribution and we don't increase inequality. So this is a kind of blueprint. When you hear later on all those different measures, check on this in this way. Let's have a look at those 3 issues where ASPHER can try to make a difference. Okay, we have the classical issues about education and training. It's about the bachelors and the masters in public health. It's about, let's call it, training the next generation. But most of the responsible people are now in the current generation. So we have to increase lifelong learning in this. So we integrate the aspect of an aging society in the curricula for lifelong learning. And there has to be developed more. What we saw that in those curricula, we are quite well into classical public health measures. But what I heard all the time, and even in the workshops, was that leadership and advocacy and the politics of persuasion are missing in this curriculum. And we have to get it in. Every public health professional should have heard of it. Of course, they don't have to work on it as 100%. In a training you hear about health promotion, but that doesn't mean that you have to be a health promotion specialist later on. But why does every public health professional should know about this? And why should we have some specialists who do this? It is this. For example, that's the time of Malta from today. And the headline, tuberculosis trying to do the EU directive, and an interview with Martin McKee, who is very good in this. Delays means loss of lives. A very balanced statement about so we need to know how to prepare this, and then we need some who can bring the message. Let's have a look at research. Most research in public health is done at schools of public health, but the research networks are a different area. But when we look at it, what is done from, let's say, helicopter perspective, we see that coordination action is really needed, because one is doing this, one scientist has a hobby there, a little research group is here, and the government money is to bring new topics up, but then to build up consortia that really have so much energy and research power that they can make a difference, their coordination is needed. And I think that might be something ASPHER gets involved in. And the second issue is researchers have to respond to need. And that is sometimes not the case. I would like to give you this example. We have the European Innovation Partnership for Active and Healthy Aging. Don't read the text, it's what they want to do. The most important is the last sentence. The overarching target of this partnership will be to increase the average healthy lifespan by 2 years by 2020. A clear target. How we come to this? How can we make this happen? And you all know Robert Medlin, who has been a Director General at EPHConference. And in one of the meetings at the European Health Forum last night, he asked the audience a simple question. If this is the case, that we have healthy life years as our criterion, shouldn't we then fund projects on what they contribute to the increase in healthy life years? The reaction of the audience, third of them are researchers, was, no, we have our own technology. How to do this? You can't measure it. It was aversion. But there's a clear need for this result. How can we measure the impact of our research? So our task is conduct research on which interventions have what impact, and here in this case on healthy life. So if we want to tackle the problems of an aging society, if we even operationalize targets, we have to support this by that we can invest in the right project. The last issue is societal impact. What can we all do? Very easy first is awareness raising. Talk about it. Spread the news. Put it into your presentations. Second is act properly as an expert. You are public health professionals. You're seen from the public as experts. So you have a responsibility to tell the right things, to take care about things we have to change in the future, and to take up responsibility. If things go wrong, you might end up in a court case like some researchers did with the earthquake in Italy. I don't know exactly the background of this, but for the epidemiologists now it's getting tough times in America. Often acting as a witness or an expert now is linked to responsibility. So please don't always answer a question with further research as needed. Try to bring some information from the research we already have. And be a good practice example yourself. In your institution. Make your institution age-friendly. So what would this mean, be a good practice example yourself? Okay, this time we have all the dogs. What new tricks does your old dog has to learn? How can ASPHER itself adopt to and deal with the new challenges of aging? And how can we keep this aging institution attractive to members? And for example, we try to make a mix. We try to integrate the young public health professionals into our executive boards and into the working groups, and we don't want to lose the knowledge of the early retired specialists. We have different committees where they can work, have a home, and can contribute, and we secure their knowledge. So aging is not only the society, institutions age too, and we have to deal with this and look at associations that have a 100-year tradition. Sometimes they had to reinvent themselves. So this is the last slide. How can schools of public health help via ASPHER for healthy and active aging? Education training we discussed, research initiatives, and service to society. Thank you very much for your attention.
Now we move on to the side of EUPHA, and I will kindly ask Walter Ricciardi, part of EUPHA, to present his perspective on aging and EUPHA. Thanks, Julie. Dear colleagues,
We have to recognize that the last years for people working in the medical sector have been amazing. We have seen amazing scientific progress. I just mentioned some: stadiums, antibiotics, stents, chemotherapy, radiotherapy, etc. But our health systems have not found a solution to 5 major problems such as safety, medical errors, mistakes, quality, substandard clinical practice, and poor patient experience, failure to maximize value, a lot of waste, a very enthusiastic adoption of intervention of low value, and failure to get new evidence into practice, inequalities, failure to prevent the preventable. And new additional challenges are developing, such as the rising expectation of people, increasing needs, and I will show you in a minute, and climate change and related health problems and health emergencies. But for the first time since World War II, we have an additional challenge, which are financial constraints. For the first time in many countries, if not in all Europe, there have been budget cuts, and these are some figures and facts in the health system. A solid cut on the budgets for the health sector. But we are discussing about one, maybe the most important need of our countries that our countries are going to face in the future, which is population aging. Because in Europe, in this continent, has happened something that has never happened before. Never before in any part of the world, birth rates have decreased so quickly and dramatically as in our country. I mean, just to show, we have Robert here, the current demographic that Italy and Japan, Italy, European country, oldest country in the world has, United States will have that demographic in 2050. So we are already facing some incredible challenges in doing that. And in Italy already, since 2000,